Hello, I'm Dr. Rebecca Docherty, and I'm an educational psychologist, and I'm going to talk about genuine specific praise, or genuine specific feedback, we might call it, rather than using bland, effusive praise. Genuine specific feedback and praise can make it more likely that children show those behaviours, either learner behaviours in the school context or other types of behaviours again, and it can raise self-esteem. We might get tempted to really get drawn into very effusive, over-the-top praise. Brilliant, you're so clever, that's amazing. And we think that that sort of praise is going to be really helpful. But we're going to argue today that genuine specific praise or feedback can sometimes be more effective than that. Okay. So if we think about what it is that we're trying to do when we praise and give feedback to pupils or children in the home environment, we think, okay, what is praise? Is it something that we're hoping is going to improve our relationship with the child? Will it make them have a warmer, more trusting relationship with us? Will they feel like they're emotionally safe with us, that we like them more, perhaps? Are we trying to reinforce things? We're trying to make it more likely that those behaviours, those ways of learning and interacting with tasks will happen again, maybe? Are we using it actually as a bit of a reward? Is it a bit of a verbal reward? And it's maybe intended to increase motivation of students. Maybe those are the sorts of reasons that we're engaging with praise in the first place. But are there some pitfalls? Possibly. Sometimes praise can be seen as disingenuous, can't it? It can be seen as something that just gets shrugged off. We sometimes hear people saying that some children or young people are just resistant to praise, they can't accept praise. But often what's happening there is that they're resistant and shrugging off bland, effusive praise rather than genuine, specific praise. Bland, effusive praise is not necessarily true. It's not necessarily genuine. It might be disingenuous. We might say things like, wow, that is an amazing drawing. And we might think that, you know, that's a helpful thing to say. It might not be an amazing drawing, and the child might feel like this is not an amazing drawing. So I'm uncomfortable with you saying that because it feels like you're buttering me up and it feels disingenuous, and I'm not sure I can trust what you're saying. We might say to the child, my goodness, you're so clever, which might feel like a helpful thing to say. And also it might make the child feel uncomfortable if they're thinking, I'm not sure what you mean by that because everybody else in this class seems to be doing better than me. So I don't really know, compared to who am I clever? That makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't know what to do with that praise and feedback. And also if we're just saying, wow, that's amazing, that's fabulous. Okay, so we're thinking that's maybe sort of a reinforcement. But if I'm just told, you know, oh my goodness, you did such an amazing job today. What am I going to try and do next time? How will I do that amazing job next time? I'll just try and be amazing in future. I don't know how to do it though. So it's not specific. It's not telling us exactly how to be amazing or clever in future. So this bland, effusive praise, we're hoping it's going to raise a child's self-esteem. Actually, it can be shrugged off fairly easily. It can lead to children being a bit reluctant to accept constructive feedback as well, because they're used to this sense that what I'm supposed to be getting is this high level of maybe over the top praise. And if I'm having this stream of, oh my goodness, you're amazing, you're so clever, what happens if I'm given something that sounds a bit like, okay, I think you need to do this differently? Is that evidence that I'm not amazing and clever anymore? Yeah. So if I'm being given this sort of stream of feedback along the lines of, oh my goodness, you're so clever. Wow, you're so good at this. Although that feels like a helpful thing to do, it can actually encourage what we call a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset being a way of viewing ability as something that's just a fixed quantity. I am clever. That's just how I am. I am brilliant. I am fabulous at this. Which might feel good for a bit, but what happens in situations where I don't succeed in a task, because that will happen sometimes, is that evidence that I know I'm not clever? If when I do well, I'm given praise for being clever, If I don't do well, does that mean I'm not clever anymore? That's difficult. What some evidence actually suggests instead is that when we describe what the child is doing, that can actually be a lot more effective. That can actually increase child self-esteem, because we're giving them feedback about what they've actually done and making them feel good about what's true, rather than this fantasy version. So we're thinking about that sense of there being different ways of having a mindset about abilities and how you're approaching tasks. We're wanting to support children to have a growth mindset, to think, actually, I can get better if I carry on paying attention, if I carry on putting in effort, if I carry on showing grit and determination and perseverance, if I carry on concentrating about what I'm doing, I can develop, as opposed to giving them feedback that makes me feel like, okay, I'm just clever, that's just who I am. I'm just clever, that's who I am. That actually fosters a fixed mindset. Whereas, oh my goodness, you're putting a lot of grit in. I saw you putting in some determination. That makes me feel like I can do those things again, and I can carry on growing and developing. So if we're not praising ability and we're not being bland and effusive, what are we going to praise? We're praising things that have genuinely taken place. We're thinking about this sense of it being genuine and specific. We're saying things that are rooted in reality, what we actually see children do and see young people do. And we're going to be specific. We're going to try and notice the details of that. And that at first might feel like it's not as impressive as saying, oh my goodness, that is so incredible. We think that's going to be more effective praise than saying, oh, I saw you concentrating really hard on that drawing. Even when it got a little bit tricky, I saw you carry on going. That second one maybe doesn't feel as impressive, but it's true, it's genuine, it's specific, so the child can believe it, so they can actually have improved self-esteem, because we're helping them to feel good about who they actually are, not the fantasy version. And because we're being so specific, that's actually raising their awareness of what they're doing, so they can do those skills and show those learner behaviors on future occasions. Sometimes we talk about metacognition and increasing the children's metacognitive awareness. Metacognition, so cognition being thinking, metacognition being thinking about the thinking, meta being above, so thinking about the thinking. We're raising the child's awareness of what they're actually doing by being specific and describing exactly what they're doing. It might sound like, oh, that was thoughtful how you shared your umbrella with a friend outside. That was a really thoughtful thing to do. And we're just leaving it there. We're describing what's actually taking place. The child doesn't need to shrug that off because they actually did do that. It's grounded in fact and reality. And we've highlighted for them that's a thoughtful behaviour. And that is something where they can show thoughtful behaviours on future occasions. We can say, oh, I saw how you actually read all the instructions really clearly, and that made it easier for you to work through that question. Okay, it's true. You've described it, it's genuine. I can feel good about who I actually am, not the fantasy version. And I also know the specific behaviour I can replicate on another occasion. Okay, so that was kind. Your friend came in and she was obviously looking a bit upset, and I noticed that you went over to check how she was feeling, which that's kind. That probably made her feel quite cared for this morning. Easy to take in. You're not going over the top, keeping it fairly sort of comfortable and genuine. It's not feeling like you're trying to butter her up. You're stating what you've actually seen. It's genuine and it's specific, so I can feel good about who I am, and I know exactly what I might want to do on a future occasion. So here we go. So genuine, specific praise or feedback encourages the students or children, not just about in school, it's about in the home environment as well, to be aware of their own learner behaviours and their general behaviours as well, their social behaviours. It increases their self-esteem through being aware of what they're genuinely doing, not this fantasy version. And because we're doing that, it's increasing their metacognitive awareness, and increasing the chance that those behaviours are going to be shown on other occasions. So what sort of things might we want to praise or give feedback for? These are just some examples. There'll be lots of things. Effort, that's helpful. Sometimes the term effort, good effort, might not feel right. You might want to use terms like grit, or you just keep going, or I saw how you made yourself carry on, if that particular word isn't going to work. So, you kept going even when it was hard. Oh, I can see you persevering and trying different approaches. We can give feedback for attention. It's actually, we think that someone's just got a good attention span, not a good attention span. It's something that we can work at a little bit. And applying effortful attention is a really helpful skill to develop. So, you paid attention to exactly what the question was asking you, or you kept all of your attention really focused on this piece of work. It might feel like you were stating the obvious, but we're trying to sort of really break down the nuts and bolts of what we're seeing children doing, really describing those kinds of behaviours. Planning behaviour. It looks like that plan that you wrote was helpful and it kept you on track while you wrote your whole story. Yeah, that plan really worked as a guide for you, so you knew where you were going. Or, you thought really carefully about all of the sections individually before you start. So we're describing those behaviours, making it more likely that they'll happen again. Okay, so again, it's not just about learner behaviours, it can be social behaviours as well. We're really trying to sort of keep it genuine, linking it to things that we've actually seen take place, and being specific, re-describing it, and actually keeping it fairly low emotional arousal. We're not going over the top, so we're not buttering people up, we're being real, so that people can feel good about who they actually are, not the fantasy version. Okay, thank you.